What if I told you that one of the most overlooked yet powerful tools for restoring a man's health after age 60 isn't found in a pill bottle, supplement aisle, or operating room, but right there in your pantry? Disguised as a basic kitchen ingredient, I'm talking about baking soda. Most people just use it to clean their sinks or deodorize the fridge. But very few realize this simple powder may help relieve joint discomfort, support healthy sexual function, ease prostate pressure, reduce irritation in sensitive areas, and even promote freshness and comfort where it matters most. And the best part? It costs just pennies per use. I'm Dr. Edward Kinley. For over 3 decades, I've helped older men reclaim their energy, circulation, and confidence using natural, non-invasive strategies. And if there's one truth I've discovered, it's this: your body still has the desire and the potential, it simply needs the right internal support. That's where baking soda comes in. It can assist in improving 7 of the most common struggles men encounter after 60, especially when it comes to energy, inflammation, and intimacy. In this video, I'll guide you through the exact ways to use baking soda to address everything from persistent itching and prostate pressure to improving blood flow and comfort in the most personal areas. And make sure you stay with me, because tip number 5 might completely shift how you think about hygiene and male health. Before we dive in, now is a perfect time to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future tips designed to help men over 60 feel stronger, healthier, and more in control. And if this video resonates with you, let me know by typing 1 in the comments. If not, feel free to type 0. Your feedback helps me serve you better. Now let's begin. Starting with one of the most common and quietly frustrating problems older men face: the constant irritation, dryness, and itching around the groin, thighs, and lower body. If you've been brushing it off as just another part of aging, you're not alone, but there's actually a simple, natural remedy for real relief. And it starts with how you use baking soda in your bath. 1. Soothes itching and irritation in aging skin, especially around the groin. I'll never forget a conversation I had with a gentleman named Harold, who was 68 at the time. He was in reasonably good health, still active, but clearly uncomfortable during our session. He leaned in and spoke quietly. "Doc, I know this sounds minor, but it's driving me up the wall. The itching down there just won't stop, especially at night. I've tried every cream and powder, but nothing works. It's embarrassing. I don't feel clean, and it's starting to affect my relationship with my wife." Harold's experience is far more common than you might think. For countless men over 60, dry and irritated skin becomes an everyday struggle, especially around the groin, inner thighs, and at the base of the penis. It doesn't happen all at once. First, it's a bit of tightness, then some redness, until eventually it becomes part of your nightly routine. You find yourself tossing in bed, waking up from the itching, and gradually pulling away from touche, even though, deep down, you still crave that sense of connection. Here's the good news: it doesn't have to be that way. One of the most reliable, calming remedies, I recommend something my patients often return to with gratitude: the baking soda bath. It's simple, affordable, and remarkably effective. Just add half a cup of baking soda to a warm bath and soak for 15 to 20 minutes. What it does for aging skin is nothing short of impressive. Baking soda gently neutralizes the surface acidity of the skin. That matters more than most people realize, because as we get older, our skin becomes thinner and more reactive to soaps, sweat, detergents, even basic hygiene products. This soak helps restore pH balance, eases inflammation, and calms the nerves that trigger those relentless itchy sensations. But the benefits go beyond skin relief. There's something deeply grounding about immersing yourself in warm water with a single natural ingredient. It's not another medicated cream or over-the-counter solution. It's just you and the water. For many men, it becomes a quiet ritual return to comfort, a way of saying, "My body is worth caring for. My peace matters." After just 2 baths, a man named Francone of my longtime patients walked into my office with a rested look I hadn't seen in weeks. "Doctor," he said, "I finally slept through the night. I feel like myself again." And that's exactly the point. You don't need a shelf full of skincare products to reclaim your comfort. Just the right solution and a willingness to try something that works. Because it's fragrance-free, dye-free, and free of preservatives, The baking soda soak is ideal for men with sensitive skin or those prone to rashes. And if getting in and out of a full bath is a challenge, even soaking your feet or lower body can bring focused relief. You'll step out feeling cleaner, lighter, and more at home in your own skin. And that quiet confidence, it shows in how you move, how you feel, and even how you connect with others. But here's where it gets even more interesting. While baking soda offers clear relief on the outside, what it does internally may surprise you even more, especially when it comes to digestion, bloating, and that stubborn pressure many men feel in the lower abdomen. Because for the next common issue that arises after 60, we need to look beneath the surface. 2. Relieves age-related indigestion. There's a certain weight that seems to settle in the body as the years go by, not just in the joints or shoulders, but deep in the gut. Maybe you felt it too, that slow, lingering discomfort that creeps in after meals, that familiar burning sensation that climbs into your chest an hour after dinner, or the heavy, bloated feeling that sticks around longer with every passing year. I remember speaking with a patient named Walter, a 72-year-old retired football coach. The kind of man who always greeted you with a strong handshake and a quick laugh. But this time, he looked weary. "Doc," he said, "I can't even enjoy food anymore. Everything seems to set me off. Meals I've loved for decades now leave me with heartburn. It feels like my stomach's turned against me." And Walter wasn't alone. I've heard that same frustration from countless men. It's not just in your head. As we grow older, digestion naturally slows. Our bodies produce less stomach acid. The muscles that help move food through the system lose their strength. Over time, we become more sensitive to greasy meals, late-night snacks, even everyday medications. Foods that once brought comfort now bring discomfort. As a result, many men start avoiding meals, limiting their diets unnecessarily, or turning to over-the-counter fixes that may offer temporary relief but often come with side effects. But there's a time-tested remedy that's simple, natural, and probably already in your kitchen: baking soda. Just half a teaspoon mixed into a glass of water can ease that fiery feeling in minutes. Because baking soda is alkaline, it works by balancing out excess stomach acid, reducing that burn, bloating, and tight sensation that tends to build after eating. The relief often comes fast. Within a few minutes, most men notice the pressure fading, the burning subsiding, and the heaviness lifting. And unlike many antacids you find on store shelves, baking soda doesn't contain aluminum, artificial dyes, or unnecessary additives. It's clean, reliable, and surprisingly effective when used occasionally and in moderation. Walter wasn't sure at first. "Baking soda? Seriously?" he asked. I nodded and told him to give it a try. The next time he came in, he was smiling. "I had spaghetti again," he told me. "Slept straight through the night. No pills, no flare-ups. Just that little glass of water you recommended." Of course, this isn't for everyone. Baking soda contains sodium, so men with high blood pressure, kidney issues, or who take specific medications should always consult their physician first. But for the occasional bout of heartburn, especially after a heavier meal, it can make a world of difference. And the benefit isn't just physical. What I find most meaningful about this simple habit is the emotional relief it offers. The freedom to eat with your spouse, to enjoy family dinners again, or to indulge in a holiday dessert without dreading the aftermath. That kind of peace, that kind of confidence, it reminds you that your body isn't failing, it's just asking for a little extra support. But digestion is just one part of the bigger picture, because the same baking soda that can calm an upset stomach may also play a quiet but powerful role in something far more personal, something that affects how you stand, how you move, how confident you feel, and yes, even your comfort in intimate moments. Let's talk about your feet and how this simple household item can make a surprising difference. 3. Promotes foot comfort and helps control odor. There's a kind of silent discomfort that comes with aging feet. Most men don't bring it up, but they know it well. It shows up every morning when you step out of bed and feel that first ache, and again at night when you finally sit down and realize how sore your feet really are. They've carried your weight for 6, maybe 7 decades, into work, across airports, down long hallways, through gardens and garages. And now they swell, they itch, they ache. And sometimes, No matter how often you clean them or change your socks, there's a smell that just won't seem to go away. I once sat down with a man named George, 74, a retired firefighter tough, no nonsense, the kind of guy who never complained. But this time, he looked worn out. "Doc," he said, "my feet hurt all the time. The skin's dry and cracked. And the smell? I've tried everything, sprays, powders, even prescription creams. Nothing works. It's embarrassing." What George was dealing with is something I hear about all the time. As we get older, the skin loses moisture, blood flow slows, fungal infections become more frequent. And because many older men struggle with flexibility, foot care becomes harder than it used to be. The result? Discomfort, odor, and a quiet sense that something's out of balance. That's where baking soda steps in, not just as a cleanser, but as a restorative ritual. A foot soak made with warm water and a few tablespoons of baking soda does more than just soften calluses. It can change how you feel from the ground up. Its alkalinity helps neutralize acids and bacteria that cause odor. It reduces itching and irritation, and it creates an environment that discourages fungal growth. Just soaking your feet in this solution twice a week can lead to noticeable improvement. Fewer cracks, less redness, and a clean, refreshed feeling that lasts far longer than any powder or spray. George followed a simple plan: soak for 20 minutes 3 evenings a week, dry thoroughly, and sprinkle a small amount of baking soda into his shoes before bed. A month later, he walked into my office smiling before he even sat down. "Doc," he said, "my feet feel brand new. No more itching, no more smell, and my wife finally lets me put them up on the coffee table again." But it's about more than just physical comfort. Caring for your feet with something this simple and natural is also a quiet reminder to yourself that you still deserve to feel good. That every step you take should bring ease, not pain, and that even small, thoughtful acts can restore not just your body but your dignity. And for men dealing with diabetes, poor circulation, or balance issues, taking care of your feet isn't just a matter of comfort, it's a matter of health. It may seem like a small step, but it creates a ripple effect. When foot pain starts to fade, everything shifts. You stand with more ease, you walk a little farther, you move with less hesitation. And when that happens, something deeper awakens. Blood begins flowing more freely, your muscles start to re-engage, and with that renewed movement, your confidence slowly returns, not just in your body but in how you connect with others. Pain, especially the kind we learn to live with quietly, has a way of holding us back from closeness. But when that pain begins to subside, even in something as overlooked as your feet, the mind softens too. You become more open, more at ease. And that brings us to another kind of comfort that often gets forgotten that affects how we eat, speak, and share the most human of moments. Let's talk about the mouth. 4. Keeps dentures and oral devices fresh. When I think about dignity and aging, I often think about the little things, the subtle, deeply personal details we don't talk about often enough, like eating without soreness, like sharing a conversation without worrying about your breath, like smiling without fear that something might slip out of place or smell unpleasant. These may seem minor, but when they're missing, you feel it. I once met a gentleman named Harold, 79, who had recently begun wearing full dentures. He sat down, looked me in the eye, and said quietly, "Doc, I feel like I'm not myself anymore. My mouth feels foreign. I brush, I rinse, I do what I can, but there's always this smell, like something's off. I don't want to kiss my wife. I don't even like talking too close to people anymore." That stuck with me, because switching to dentures or any oral appliance is more than a physical change. It can affect how you see yourself. And when discomfort or odor starts creeping in, it doesn't just affect your hygiene, it impacts your confidence, your relationships, your sense of self. That's why I often suggest something simple that most people already have in their pantry: baking soda. Not the fizzing tablets or scented rinses, just pure, gentle baking soda mixed with warm water. 1 teaspoon stirred into a cup of water becomes a safe, effective soak for dentures, retainers, or night guards. Unlike many commercial cleaners that use strong chemicals, perfumes, or artificial colors, baking soda works quietly. It lifts away residue, fights odor, and helps eliminate bacteria hiding in the tiny crevices of your device. And it does all this without harsh aftertaste or irritation, making it a great option for men dealing with dry mouth or gum sensitivity, both of which become more common with age. Harold wasn't sure at first, but he gave it a try, a simple daily soak. When I saw him again a few weeks later, he looked lighter. "Doc," he said with a grin, "I feel like myself again. My wife even told me I smell like me. I'm not nervous to talk anymore." It was as if something had been lifted. And that kind of shift goes beyond hygiene. It's a restoration of confidence. Because when you can care for your oral appliance with something safe and natural, you're not just maintaining cleanliness. You're reclaiming a piece of control. You're saying, "I still care about how I present myself." This isn't just about appearance. Oral health is deeply tied to overall health, especially when it comes to inflammation and the heart. When bacteria builds up inside your mouth, it doesn't stay confined. It can travel through the bloodstream, impacting your immune system, your cardiovascular health, even your energy levels and mood. So keeping your dentures clean isn't only about breath or comfort. It's a simple, powerful way to protect your entire body, and it takes less than a minute a day. 1 spoonful of baking soda, a cup of warm water, and a moment of quiet while your appliance soaks. That's all it takes to feel refreshed, clear, and confident again. But the benefits of baking soda don't end there. The same quiet effectiveness that helps soothe the mouth can also reach deeper into the joints, where another kind of pain often lingers. If you've ever been jolted awake by the searing pain of gout in your toe or ankle, you know exactly what I mean. So let's talk about something that's both common and incredibly disruptive for many men over 60. 5. May help ease gout symptoms. There's a certain kind of agony only someone who's experienced a gout attack can understand. It doesn't build gradually, it strikes like a lightning bolt. Often in the early hours of the morning, you wake up to an intense throbbing in your big toe, ankle, or sometimes your knee. Even the touch of a bedsheet can feel unbearable. Standing is out of the question. That's gout. And for many older men, it's more common than they realize. One patient, Leonard, 66, a retired plumber who spent his working life on concrete floors, came to me frustrated and in pain. "Doc," he said, pointing to his foot, "I never thought something this small could hurt so much. I can't walk. I can't sleep. I feel like my body's betraying me." The root of gout is uric acid, an internal waste product that, in some men, builds up and forms painful crystals in the joints. When those crystals settle in, inflammation erupts, and even the slightest pressure becomes unbearable. Of course, medications exist and are often necessary, but Leonard wanted more than a prescription. He wanted a natural option, something safe, accessible, and simple. That's when I introduced him to baking soda. It may sound too basic, but this common household item has an impressive ability to influence the body's internal chemistry. Because baking soda is alkaline by nature, when used properly and in moderation, it can help neutralize acidity in the bloodstream. And that shift may create an internal environment that discourages uric acid buildup, helping reduce the frequency and severity of gout flare-ups. Harold began with just half a teaspoon of baking soda dissolved in a glass of water once a day. As soon as he sensed a flare coming on, within a few days, he noticed a change. The pressure started to let up. The burning subsided. He could finally put his foot on the ground again. Now, to be clear, it didn't cure the condition, and I told him then, as I'll tell you now, this isn't a substitute for professional medical care. But what it gave him was something just as meaningful, a renewed sense of control. Because for many men, gout isn't just physical pain. It's a loud reminder that their body doesn't move like it used to. That everyday joys, walking the dog, climbing stairs, or even dancing slowly with a loved one, now come with hesitation. But when the pain softens, even a little, something else returns. Freedom. The freedom to walk without wincing, to plan your day without wondering if your joints will betray you, to feel strong again, if only for a moment. Of course, there are important caveats. Baking soda contains sodium, so if you're managing high blood pressure, kidney issues, or are on a low-sodium diet, you should always consult your doctor before trying this regularly. But for many men, when used carefully and in moderation, it becomes a reliable companion, not just for easing discomfort, but for restoring confidence. The kind that reminds you, You still have the power to help yourself. Harold told me later, "You didn't just give me something for the pain. You helped me feel like myself again." And that's the quiet strength of something so simple. It's why I continue to recommend it to men who are ready to take small but meaningful steps toward feeling better. Now, while gout can knock you off your feet in a moment, there's another kind of discomfort that sneaks in more gradually, one that's rarely talked about but deeply frustrating. It shows up in a place most men don't expect, and it lingers quietly until it becomes impossible to ignore. Loo helps ease urinary discomfort. It's the kind of problem most men never bring up in conversation. You won't mention it at lunch with friends, and you might not even tell your doctor unless the pain becomes unbearable, but it's there. Sometimes for days, sometimes for weeks. That sharp burning sensation when you urinate, that persistent pressure low in your abdomen, that feeling of never quite being done no matter how often you go. And over time, it wears on you, not just physically, but mentally. It chips away at your sense of ease, at your confidence, at your ability to feel in control of your own body. I remember a man named Frank, age 70. When he walked into my office, the fatigue was written all over his face. He sat down slowly, clearly frustrated and just a little embarrassed. "Doc," he said, "every time I pee, it burns like hell. I feel like I have to go constantly," George continued. "But when I do, barely anything comes out. And I hate even talking about this, but I'm out of options." His frustration is more common than most men realize, especially after 60. Whether it's tied to an aging prostate, mild inflammation, or side effects from long-term medication, that burning, stinging feeling can quietly take over your entire day. Of course, if the symptoms are serious or persistent, medical attention is essential. But when the cause is minor irritation or low-level inflammation, many men are surprised to find that something as simple as baking soda can bring meaningful relief. It sounds almost too simple, but that's exactly what makes it so effective. Just half a teaspoon stirred into a glass of water once or twice a day, for a few days, can help reduce the acidity in your urine. And when the acidity drops, the discomfort often fades with it. George gave it a try. Like most men, he was skeptical at first, but by the second day, he called my office. "It's not completely gone," he said, "but it's manageable now. I'm not afraid of the bathroom anymore." That small shift created a domino effect. He started sleeping through the night again. He felt more energetic during the day. And maybe most importantly, he wasn't constantly on edge, worried that something would go wrong in public or that he'd need to find a restroom at a moment's notice. There's a calm that returns when your body stops demanding constant attention, when going to the bathroom doesn't feel like a painful ordeal, when you're not clenching, bracing, or counting the minutes to the next pill. Now, to be clear, baking soda doesn't treat infections. It's not a replacement for antibiotics or medical care. But when discomfort stems from irritation, not infection, it can offer something powerful. Relief that feels natural, clean, immediate. And just as important, it sends a quiet but meaningful message that you're still paying attention, that you haven't given up or decided pain is just part of getting older. You're making choices to care for yourself, even if it's just a small scoop of powder in a glass of water. 7. Helps ease canker sores naturally. It's remarkable how something so tiny can cause so much pain. One little sore on the inside of your cheek, your gums, under your tongue, and suddenly eating becomes miserable, talking is difficult, and even a warm sip of coffee burns like fire. Canker sores aren't dangerous, but they can rob you of daily comfort and peace of mind. And as we age, when our mouths tend to become drier and more sensitive, even minor sores can feel unbearable. I remember a gentleman named Alan, 71, who brought this up during a routine checkup for his joint pain. He wasn't the complaining type, steady, quiet, resilient, but when I asked how he was feeling overall, he paused. "Honestly, Doc," he said, "I can't eat without flinching. I've got this sore in my mouth that just won't quit. I brush, I rinse, and nothing helps." That's how Alan described it, and I knew exactly what he meant, because I've heard that same story from many men. Canker sores often appear as a result of stress, minor irritation, or shifts in the immune system. And as we age, they tend to show up more frequently and heal more slowly. The trouble is, most over-the-counter mouth rinses burn badly and offer little actual relief. They're packed with alcohol, artificial flavors, and chemicals that only worsen already sensitive tissue. That's why I offered Alan a different suggestion, something most people wouldn't expect: baking soda. Not as a scrub or paste, but as a gentle warm rinse. Just half a teaspoon dissolved in a small glass of warm water, swished carefully around the mouth 2 or 3 times a day. It sounds almost too easy, but Alan gave it a shot and within days, the pain eased. The sore began to shrink. By the end of the week, he could eat without flinching. He came back smiling and said, "That was the first sandwich I've enjoyed in days." Here's why it works. Baking soda is a gentle alkaline compound with mild antiseptic properties. It helps neutralize the mouth's acidity, which can worsen pain and inflammation. It also supports a healing environment without drying out your gums or stinging the surrounding tissue. No burn, no discomfort, just calm, soothing support. But more than that, it gave Alan back something deeper: ease. Because when your mouth hurts, everything feels harder. Eating, talking, laughing, those simple moments that keep us connected and alive begin to shrink. And when relief comes, even from something as small as a sore, it brings back more than comfort. It brings back identity, joy, appetite, confidence. I've recommended this rinse to dozens of older men, and their reaction is often the same: a quiet thank you. Not because it's a miracle, but because it reminds them they're not powerless. That healing doesn't always require a prescription. Sometimes the most effective remedy is already sitting in your cabinet, familiar, unassuming, and far more powerful than it looks. As Alan put it, it wasn't just the sore that healed. My mood came back, my appetite, my sense of control. And that's really what these small habits are all about. Whether it's your joints, your skin, your feet, your gut, or your smile, it's not just about getting rid of discomfort. It's about reclaiming a sense of comfort, presence, and pride in your body. Bar, the quiet strength of simple things, a gentle path to healing. After more than 3 decades in medicine, I've come to believe that real healing doesn't always start with the newest pill or the latest device. More often, it begins with something quiet, something you already know, something that's been right there all along. Baking soda isn't a miracle cure. It won't rewind the clock or fix everything overnight. But when used thoughtfully, it has the power to help you feel better, especially in the areas that matter most. It can ease the wear and tear of daily life, whether it's on your skin, in your joints, through digestion, or in those more private discomforts you may hesitate to mention. Let's take a moment to revisit what we've discovered. A simple baking soda bath can soothe dry, itchy skin, particularly around the groin, helping you rest easier, reconnect more deeply, and feel at ease in your own body. Just half a teaspoon stirred into water can ease heartburn, letting you enjoy meals again without fear. That same small amount can soften the pain of a gout flare, giving you the freedom to walk and move without grimacing. A warm foot soak with baking soda can relieve odor, reduce cracking, and ease pressure, restoring a sense of dignity that reaches far beyond your shoes. Rinsing your dentures or mouthguard with it can keep your mouth fresh and clean without burning or discomfort. A daily dose may reduce that burning pressure during urination, a quiet but frustrating issue for many older men. And a gentle rinse can soothe a painful canker sore, helping you eat, talk, and smile again without flinching. None of these solutions are flashy. They don't claim to change your life in a single step, but the truth is, they do. Because when your body feels better even just a little, your whole world shifts. You stop anticipating pain, you rest more peacefully, you move with steadiness and confidence, you laugh more freely, you show up more fully. These aren't just health benefits, they're human ones. And for so many men over 60, that subtle change makes all the difference. I think about the men I've worked with over the years. Many walked into my office holding back, stoic, quiet, not wanting to admit how much they were struggling. And then, after something as small as a foot soak or a glass of water with baking soda, they returned with more ease in their voice, more light in their step, not cured, not suddenly youthful, but present, comfortable, reconnected with their sense of self. That's the quiet magic of simple tools used wisely. They're not complicated. They're not expensive. They don't promise the impossible, but they offer respect to your body, to your age, to the journey you've been on. That's why I continue to recommend baking soda. Not as a cure-all, not as a gimmick, but as a trustworthy companion, a humble, natural way to care for yourself. Because it reminds you, your well-being still matters. You still deserve relief. And sometimes, that relief comes from the most ordinary of places. Aging doesn't mean giving up, it means paying closer attention, making gentler choices, honoring the body that's carried you this far. So the next time you reach for that little orange box in your cupboard, don't just see a household staple. See comfort, see possibility. See a way to take back those small, essential moments that make up a life well lived. Maybe it's soaking your feet after a long day. Maybe it's calming your digestion after dinner. Maybe it's finding a bit of peace in the middle of the night when you get up to use the bathroom and wonder if you'll fall back asleep. Whatever it looks like for you, the truth remains. You now have a tool. It's simple, it's accessible, and best of all, it's something you can use on your own terms. And sometimes, that's all a man really needs to feel steady again, strong again, in control again. If this message spoke to you, even if just one tip brought a bit of relief, I hope you'll take a quiet moment to reflect on how much impact the smallest changes can make. Relief doesn't always come from big gestures. Sometimes, it's the gentle, thoughtful choices that restore the greatest comfort. And if you know another man, maybe a friend, a brother, or someone quietly struggling who could use a little encouragement, a little relief, or just a reminder that his body still matters, don't hesitate to share this with him. Because in the end, healing doesn't come from doing everything. It comes from doing what works and doing it with care, with patience, and with the intention to live a little better every day.